If you've been on the channel, you know that I've been running the 2011 platform for quite some time now. And over the last few months, I've been able to get my hands on various 2011s, just trying to test them out. Now, what I will say is there are pros and cons to owning this here pistol. And if you want to know what they are, make sure you stick around to the end of the video so that you know if this is right for you or not. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. And today we're talking about the pros and the cons of owning the 2011 platform. Now, I've been shooting 2011s for the last maybe like 6 months. My first ever 2011 was the Kimber 2K11 Pro. And ever since then, I've been trying to figure out what is this 2011 platform like. And so over the last 3 months, I've been able to get my hands on various 2011s and just shoot them and try to get a feel for them. And today I want to share with you what are the pros and cons of owning something like this. So this in my hands is the Mac 9 DS 1911 or 2011. And it is the comp version. Shout out to Brandon, who shoots with me pretty consistently at these IDPA matches that I go to. He's let me borrow this. And when I tell you I've been shooting this thing, because this thing is super, super nice. For the money, but the price of this, y'all make sure you go check out that video. I'll link it here. Check out that video of what the Mac DS9 is like. It is absolutely a great firearm from Mac. They did a really good job on this one. All right, so let's jump right into the very first pro. Number one, the mag capacity that you get on these. Whenever you buy 2011, usually you're going to get a high round capacity mag. I have some here. This is the T-Sauce mag. It is a 17 round mag. It is a +2 on the bottom. I also have my Kimber Checkmate mag here. It is actually a 19 round magazine. It may not look like it. It may look like a 17, but this is a 19 round flush magazine. And then I also have my Kimber 21 round magazine here, and it does have that little extension on it. So first and foremost, out the gate, high round capacity. Normally with your striker fire guns, you're going to get anywhere between 10 and 17 rounds. With these 2011s, I believe they could start at anywhere 17 all the way up to like 21, maybe even 23. And that is a plus. If you're thinking about running something like this in competition, you're going to need that high capacity mag, and especially if you use it for something like a duty gun, you're going to need the rounds. So first and foremost, a very high capacity when it comes to your magazine. And again, these are in no particular order. I'm just sharing the pros and the cons. And so that leads me to my second pro is the trigger. If you've never shot a 2011 before or a 1911, make sure you just try it out for the trigger. Most of the time, the triggers on these 2011s are usually flat. Sometimes you do have the curved ones, but for the most part, they're flat and they're crispy. The break is outstanding. And I'll show you real quick here on this Mac 9. Magazine is empty. There's no magazine in here, and it is clear. And so let me just show you what that looks like. So there's a little bit, see, yeah, there it is. A little bit of room, and whoop, that thing just feels crispy. And then let me show you the reset. There it is. That's probably my most favorite part about the 2011 platform is the trigger. It is definitely different than your striker fire handguns, that you're going to get a really crispy trigger. And the other thing is you can like mod these triggers up the way you want it. You can fine tune it to the pound that you want it to be or the weight that you want it to be, and it can be even crispier. But that's a huge pro for me is the crispy single action triggers that you get on the 2011s. The next pro I would say on the 2011 platform is the recoil management. So typically when you buy something like this, it's gonna be heavy. Like me holding this right now, this is a pretty heavy gun. You got your steel frame. You're typically going to have a polymer grip module here, but the heaviness of the gun is definitely going to help with that recoil. I mean, whenever you shoot it, most 2011s, most people say it's not even moving. And that's typically how it feels, like it's not even moving in your hand because of the recoil. And don't put a port on there because that's just going to help it out even more. As you can see there, that big chunk there, helps out with the recoil 100 times over. So the recoil management on 2011s is definitely a plus. The next pro I would say is the modularity of the 2011 platform. So you can customize this thing as you want to. This is again Brandon's Mac 9 that he's done some work to. He's had some things tuned, he's had some springs changed. As you can tell, he's had some stippling done and a little Cerakote job. I mean, you can do pretty much what you can do on a striker fire gun with a 2011 gun, with some alterations and some things that you couldn't do. But for the most part, it's very modular. You can tune it just like you want to, as though you're running a striker fire gun. So I do like that about it. A lot of people change out their triggers to different types of triggers. Although the stock triggers are pretty good, some people still change it out. You can add different mag wells. Again, you can change out the grip modules. That's mainly the thing that people do on the 2011s is change out the grip modules to some very nice grip panels and grip locks. So that's a pro if you're interested in customizing your 2011s. And then the last pro that I would say for the 2011 platform is that they are pretty accurate. Most times with the heaviness and the recoil management that you get on here, it should run pretty accurate. Making sure you're paying attention to just your training, that plays a big role into making sure it's accurate. And then as well as what ammo you are using, that way it doesn't aid into the gun not shooting the way you want it to shoot, and definitely not inaccurate. You want it to shoot as accurate as possible, but right out the gate, most 2011s, or right out the box, most 2011s are gonna shoot pretty accurate. All right, so let's jump into the cons of these babies. So the first con would be the price. Now, you're talking about these luxury style, higher end styled firearms. They're going to come with a premium luxury, higher end cost typically. However, something like the Mac 9 DS, you can get this is one of those budget 2011s. You can get this for sub 1,000. You do have firearms that are 2011s that are going to come at 16, 17, 2,000, 2,500. 4,500, that's the Staccato XC. I mean, they can keep going on and on and on. They can go up as much as $7,000, $8,000 for 2011. And it's all dependent upon what firearm you get, what company makes it, the quality, the build, all that plays a role in that price. But like I said, with this Mac 9 DS, it shoots like it's a premium gun. Although it is one of the budget-friendly options out there, it shoots like it is a premium gun. So again, first con for some brands, for some 2011s, is that price point. The second con could be the maintenance and the reliability of the 2011 platform. So unlike your striker fire guns, these things require a little bit more attention, meaning they need a little bit more cleaning and they need to be a little bit more wet in there. They need to be lubed up as much as possible so that you are not impeding on that accuracy or any of the malfunctions that could come with it not being clean or not being lubed. Most striker fires, you can run those hundreds and thousands of rounds through before they need their first cleaning. Not so much with your 2011s. They need regular cleaning, they need regular lubing, and so that's something you want to pay attention to, especially if you're coming from a striker fire or mostly striker fire firearms and you're not really familiar or used to cleaning this thing. You would have to get in the habit so that you can shoot this thing and fire it with no issues. Another pro for some people, maybe not all, could be the size and the weights of 2011s. Now, there are your full size 2011s, which are typically 5-inch barrels, and you can go as low as something as a 3¼ inch barrel on a 2011 platform. However, if you go with the heavier ones or the longer barrels, they can be a little bit harder to conceal if this is something you're trying to conceal carry. With the heavier frame, it's going to be a little bit heavier in your waistband, in your bag, or if you're carrying like a concealed bag across the body, it could be a little bit heavy, which could potentially make it harder to conceal. So you've got your thicker grips. Your grips are thicker than most of your striker fires, and it's a double stack. Remember, we're talking about our double stack magazines that are having to go inside of this firearm. So you got to worry about this part printing. You got to worry about the heaviness. You know, that's to each his own. Again, the full size ones can be heavier, a little bit heavier than your small size or your quarter, 4¼ 3¼ size handguns, but you just want to take that in consideration, especially if you plan on concealed carrying something like this. Another pro that I've actually experienced myself is the magazine reliability. So for instance, this magazine here, this is my Checkmate mag. And I've heard really good things about Checkmate mag. However, this mag has caused me issues in my last couple competitions. So I always start with this mag as my first mag. And over the last couple competitions, when I would insert this mag into my firearm and I would get to the last round wouldn't fully load into the chamber. And so I felt like it was the mag, the spring was not strong enough to push that last round up into the chamber. And so I had to do some digging and some research because, again, I'm fairly new to 2011s as well. And I had to check out the spring, take it apart, check out the spring, make sure everything was looking right. And I did see an issue with the spring in here, got that fixed, and now we're all good to go. Those are things you have to worry about. I've actually seen people run these type of mags, these 2011 mags in competition, and they would eject the mag to load the next one, and the daggone mag would just explode. I mean, follower would go this way, spring will go that way, base plate will fall right in their lap or right under their feet. I mean, the thing would just explode. And so as much as these things cost, we don't need any issues with that. And that's a common thing. It's common to have issues with these magazines. So right now, my goal is to find the best magazines right now out on the 2011 platform, because that's one issue that I just do not want to have, is an issue with a magazine, because it is very frustrating. When I was shooting stages and I would get to a stage and then this magazine wouldn't load the last round, I was very irritated because it messes with your time, it messes with your game plan. And so that's one thing that you got to take into consideration, is these magazines, they could be finicky. Striker fire, you probably won't have no issues with those. And then the last pro that I would say on the 2011 platform, which I also have experience with, is the manual safety. So on the firearm itself, there's two manual safeties. You have your grip safety here in the back, and you also have your ambidextrous safety on the side. I had issues with both, and that was a user issue, not a gun issue. So when you are thinking about getting a 2011 platform, one thing you need to know is that gripping the 2011 is not the same as gripping the Striker Fire. What I mean by that is, we on Striker Fires, we want to get a higher grip on our Striker firearms because we want to help with that recoil. We want to make sure it's in our hand good. But when it comes to the 2011 platform, we have to make sure that this part, which is the grip safety, is engaged 100%. I've had a couple stages where I'm so used to gripping, or turn this way, gripping the gun so high that, as you can see, the grip safety is not fully engaged. And so I'd be gripping so high and I'd get a dead trigger because the grip safety wasn't fully engaged. So that's one thing you have to take in consideration, is make sure that palm is on there gripping it. Or one of the solutions is pinning the grip safety so you don't have to deal with that aspect of the firearm. The other one is actually actuating this safety on accident. And I've done that on a stage where I reloaded, and when I went to grip it again, this thumb lifted the safety right there, and I went to fire and I got a dead trigger because the safety was actuated. So those are some things you want to take in consideration when we're talking about the safety aspect. Is you just got to get used to making sure this is engaged and making sure this is not engaged when you don't want it to be, especially when you're firing. It absolutely requires training, especially if you're in competition or you use a 2011 for duty. It definitely requires lots and lots and lots of training when you're pulling this gun out of the holster, making sure that you have the grip safety engaged, and make sure you turn that grip safety off so that you can fire. That is like one of the biggest things I had to get used to, especially running an outside the waistband holster in competition. When you get ready to draw that gun, well, put it on safety, but once you get ready to draw that gun out of your holster, first thing is to take that safety off, and then now you're ready to present. So that's something you probably want to take into consideration, especially when it comes to the training aspect of the 2011 platform. So those are the pros and cons that I have with the 2011. If I could do it all over again, I would probably, if we're talking about competition and we're talking about duty, I would definitely stick with a striker fire gun because there's less things you have to worry about with a striker fire gun than you do with a 2011. Like I said earlier, if you want to run a 2011 in competition or as a duty gun, you have to train in order for this thing to come second nature. Whereas with a striker fire gun, you still need to train with the striker fire, but there's less things you have to worry about. When you draw the striker fire, it's ready to go. There's no safety. Most striker fires don't have safeties. There's no safety to actuate. You're just ready to pull the trigger. With the 2011, you got to draw the gun, make sure you're engaged on the grip safety if it's not pinned, and you got to actuate the safety, the manual safety on the side to make sure you're ready to fire. If you have issues with those two, you're going to be in trouble when it's time to fire. So if I could do it all over again, especially in competition, I would definitely just stick with a striker fire. Right now, I'm in my season of 2011s, so I'm going to continue running my 2011s, but it's not to say that later on down the road, I might switch back to a striker fire because in competition, you're trying to alleviate the things that you can alleviate. If it doesn't have to be on the gun, the better. And that's what I've been learning these last few weeks. It's just like the 2011 does shoot great. It's a crisper trigger and all that good stuff, but it does have more things you have to worry about when it comes to malfunctions or the accuracy or the reliability, all that good stuff. Whereas the striker fire, right out of the box, some of them are just ready to go and you don't have to worry about any of the things like the 2011. So I don't know, to each its own. For everyday use, I would go for a striker fire. Range time and just something that's expensive, I guess, 2011 is all the way. But y'all let me know down in the comment section, do you prefer the 2011 platform or the hammer fire platform, or would you go with the striker fire? Again, those are the pros and cons of something like this. This is the Mac 9 DS 2011 and they're fun. They could be expensive, but you also have to worry about the cons of the 2011 platform. So y'all sound off in the comment section down below. Don't forget to go be a member, be an SSM1 member, Summer Shoots Member 1 or Summer Shoots Member 2 if you would like to. There are perks to being a member on the channel, so make sure y'all check that out below. You can click the join button or you can look in the description and click the link in the description. I'll see y'all in the next one. Until next time, stay armed, stay safe, and stay vigilant. Peace.